warm welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Heshain Ali and let's have a look at the headlines first. Minimum guaranteed price for paddy with a recommended moisture level for the Maha season approved. New website launched supporting Sri Lankan companies to promote their products and services into the global market. News in detail. Co-Cabinet spokesman Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that the government has taken steps to purchase paddy at a minimum guaranteed price of 50 rupees per kilogram for the Maha season with a recommended moisture level. This and many other key cabinet decisions were announced during the media briefing held this morning to announce the cabinet decisions that were taken yesterday. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers decided that the government shall facilitate in purchasing surplus of paddy stocks in the Maha season of 2019 to 2020 with objective of encouraging the private sector paddy millers to purchase paddy under a fair price to ensure sustaining a fixed price of paddy. Addressing the weekly cabinet media briefing at auditorium of the Government Information Department, Minister Dr. Gunawardena said the Cabinet of Ministers has approved the purchase of a kilogram of paddy that is up to be accepted quality standards at price of 50 rupees. The paddy will be purchased at a price of 50 rupees per kilo through the Paddy Marketing Board and government agents. Minimum certified price of a kilo of paddy with moisture will be certified as 45 rupees. Thus, the relevant cabinet paper was presented by the Agriculture Minister Chamal Rajpaksha to the Cabinet of Ministers yesterday. Meanwhile, the cabinet nod was also given to appoint authorized officers for submission of visa application of tourists arriving and travelling within Sri Lanka via the electronic travel authorization system. The Department of Immigration and Immigration followed the electronic travel authorization system since the year 2012 for issuance of pre-checkup and approval to foreign tourists visit Sri Lanka. Although attraction of a considerable amount of Chinese tourists to Sri Lanka is apparent, those Chinese tourists are not encouraged due to the delays in obtaining visa to visit Sri Lanka as a result of the language barrier resulting from the implementation of electronic travel authorization system only in English at present by Sri Lanka. Thus, as a remedy to these circumstances, it has been observed that these tourists should be facilitated to obtain assistance from private agencies when travelling to Sri Lanka. Accordingly, the proposal submitted by the Minister of Mahavali Agriculture, Irrigation, Rural Development, the Minister of Internal Trade, Food Security and Consumer Welfare and the State Minister of National Defence to obtain the service of travels on international travel services from Shanghai Limited processing experience in a number of countries in catering the need was approved by the Cabinet of Ministers as a policy. Moreover, Co-Cabinet spokesman Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena also added that Cabinet approval was given to several key precautionary methods taken to prevent an electricity shortage. Due to delay in implementing the planned electricity power plant project, Ceylon Electricity Board has to encounter a bidder crisis. Therefore, the Cabinet of Ministers decided to take key decisions with immediate effect considering the proposals submitted by the Minister of Electricity and Power with the objective of securing and safeguarding as well as fulfilling the power requirements in Sri Lanka. Thus, it was decided to construct a power plant unit with a capacity of 300 by 2 of megawatt as an extension of Norachole called power plant. Installation of an LNG bisectorial natural gas plant with a capacity of 300 megawatt as a joint venture with Ceylon Electricity Board, India and Japan at Keravalapitia was approved. This was proposed to be constructed under the funds of Asian Development Bank. Moreover, proposals for the acceleration of the construction of hydroelectricity plants and regeneration power projects that are under construction and implementation of projects agreed to be funded by the Government of India for solar power generation with a loan grant of $100 million were passed at the cabinet meeting which was held yesterday. Transparency International Sri Lanka emphasizes that Sri Lanka remains stagnant in the Corruption Perceptions Index compiled by the Transparency International, the global coalition against corruption. During the media briefing conducted by TISL this morning, it was also announced that Sri Lanka has scored 38 on the CPI 2019, retaining the same score from the previous year.
So, the results for this year are that Sri Lanka continues to have a score of 38 in the Corruption Perception Index, which ranks us 93rd in the world. Last year, we had a rank of 89th, whilst we continued to have the same raw score of 38. What does this indicate? This indicates that the perceptions of public sector corruption are more or less stagnant. when we look from 2013 up until 2019, we see that the score has hovered between 36 and 38 across this 6-year period. It really underscores the fact that the perceptions of public sector corruption are more or less unchanged.
Speaking for the Executive Director of TISL, Ashok Obesekara, highlighted that 60% of the countries that significantly improved their CPI scores since 2012 have strengthened regulations around campaign donations. Obesekara added that despite the ongoing conversation around public access to politicians' asset declarations and the regulation of campaign financing, progress on these fronts has been limited and it impacts on the stagnant levels of the CPI. He further pointed out that the new government has an opportunity to rebuild public trust by driving these reforms.
Similarly, of the countries that have shown significant progress since 2012 on the Corruption Perception Index, 60% of those countries are countries which have enforceable campaign finance regulations. So this is a very important point in light of the fact that in Sri Lanka we are continuously talking about the need to address the challenges of campaign financing, the escalating costs of elections, other things which end up allowing for routes for different kinds of money to start mixing in with our domestic politics. But this is a real opportunity. We saw last year 10 members of parliament unilaterally coming forward and releasing their asset declarations. We have a general election coming up this year. There is an opportunity for candidates and even sitting MPs to now also release their asset declarations before the election. There are ways in which we can start now addressing these issues around campaign finance. Maybe the window is too small before the upcoming election, but the importance of that can really be underscored even through the data that we're releasing.
Stay tuned for more news right after this commercial break. Welcome back after the break. Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne ordered the government analyst to submit a report on the mobile phone records of Ghanaian barrister Francis, who alleged that she was abducted and questioned some confidential information. Meanwhile, addressing a media briefing, UNF parliamentarian Eran Wickramaratne this morning expressed his dissatisfaction for linking former ANCL chairman Krishant Thakure's name into the incident. CID recently informed the court that the staffer at the Swiss embassy in Sri Lanka had received calls from then head of the CID, Superintendent Shania Besekara's Inspector Nishanta Silva, who later sought asylum in Switzerland, former Lake House chairman Krishant Thakure and journalist Darisha Bastians. Accordingly, Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne ordered the government analyst to submit a confidential report on the mobile phone records of Ghanaian barrister. UNF parliamentarian who raised the issue even at the parliament yesterday spoke to media personnel at the opposition leader's office and said that linking the names of the journalists is a bad warning for media personnel. Anyhow, Krishant Thakure was a close advisor to UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe.
To link him is basically a strategy to put fear into media personnel. And if you can threaten people at the highest realms of the media industry, then what is going to become of a journalist? This is the strategy. The strategy is not to murder, but to use fear as a tool of management and to use fear to manage society. Therefore, this will not work. Sri Lankans must stand up for media freedom, and we will stand up for media freedom because it is an important pillar of a civilized society. A legislature independent of the executive, a judiciary independent of the executive, and a media which is independent. These are the pillars of a true democracy.
The National Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka launched the FromSriLanka.com website aimed at supporting Sri Lankan companies to promote their products and services into the global markets. Sri Lanka is currently best known for its tea, rubber, coconut products and apparel in the global market, while the country has many other unique products that only Sri Lanka can offer, of which most of them are eco-friendly and made by small manufacturers. But there is no viable digital platform to encourage global traders in connecting with the local suppliers in Sri Lanka. Hence, NCC launched from SriLanka.com website filling this gap, providing an online platform to connect Sri Lankan suppliers and the unique products with the rest of the world.
It's a business-to-business sourcing platform for global buyers to source Sri Lankan products. It's not a e-commerce or a traditional e-commerce platform as we know, which means there is no e-commerce transaction on the platform. It is mainly meant for matchmaking on a B2B basis, business-to-business basis. So that means there is no shopping cart. But we also looked at exporters. One of the challenges, apart from, of course, once they link up companies, they can collaborate and then do the trade the way they want in whichever format each of them prefer. But one of the requirements for exporters are also sending samples. So we've also enabled a process of uploading quotations for sample, which can also be paid for like any other e-commerce transaction. So in whichever way possible, the objective of the platform is to support the Sri Lankan producers and exporters to facilitate global trade.
The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka signed an agreement with Sands Active Private Limited to set up a modern factory to manufacture pharmaceutical products. The project, which pumps a $10.1 million guarantees to meet the national requirements of import substitutional of medicinal drugs. The agreement was signed on behalf of the BOI by Chairman Susantha Ratnayaka and on behalf of the company by its director, Dr. Anupakant Segar. The total value of this agreement is $10.1 million and the project will provide employment to 160 workers. Sands Active Private Limited, established in year 2018, is in the process of setting up a state-of-the-art factory with the latest technology and manufacturing capabilities to manufacture pharmaceutical products in order to cater for the Sri Lankan market and also export markets. The coming up factory facility will manufacture oral tablets, capsules, injectable liquid syrups and small volume parenterals with future expansions in mind. This modern state-of-the-art facility will follow consumer-generated media regulations to ensure quality drugs throughout their entire manufacturing process. Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau conducted a tourism fair under a theme of island destinations with the assistance of over 250 travel specialists with thousands of destinations and packages. The promotion campaign took place last Friday to Sunday, facilitated by the Sri Lankan Embassy in Brussels in Luxembourg. The Embassy of Sri Lanka in Brussels, with the sponsorship of the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau, participated at the 29th edition of Acon's A Business Customer Tourism Fair of Lux Expo in Luxembourg. The fair, which was conducted under a theme of island destinations, brought together more than 250 travel specialists with thousands of destinations and packages offered from last Friday to Sunday. The ambassador of Sri Lanka to Belgium, the European Union and Luxembourg, Grace Asirvadam, inaugurated the Sri Lankan Pavilion, and representatives of Bernard Tours and Walkers Tours from tourism industry in Sri Lanka also joined the embassy officials at the Sri Lanka Pavilion to promote Sri Lanka tourism amongst Luxembourg-rich tour industry representatives and potential tourists. The Tourism Minister of Luxembourg, Lex Delis, ceremoniously opened the fair, also visited the Sri Lankan Pavilion at the request of the ambassador and briefly discussed about the tourism attractions and features in Sri Lanka. A large number of visitors patronized the Sri Lanka Pavilion, showing keen interest to obtain information to pick Sri Lanka as their next holiday destination. Stay tuned for stock updates. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 43.08 points to close at 5,984.50, and the S&P SL20 gained 27.61 points to close at 2,876.90. The turnover was 604 million rupees and over 13 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all news for today, and log into our Facebook page to get the latest news and updates. Also, don't forget to send us your comments, views and opinions via our email address and hotline. With that, we'll be signing off for today and see you tomorrow. Until then, take care, good night.